Look at the Torah, Parshat Emor. We're starting Emor, even though it's a little early. Page Lamed Aleph. Okay, the pasuk says that in Gedashi b'Tzeich B'nei Yisrael, it says Hashem says, "I will become sanctified." B'Teich B'nei Yisrael means in the midst of B'nei Yisrael. So lahavin ma'u loshen teich. What does it mean Teich B'nei Yisrael? In the midst of B'nei Yisrael. Gam tzarich lahavin Maamar Hazal to understand what the Chazal tell us. Binyan sheyesh gimel kitas malachim. There's three groups of malachim. One group says Kodesh, one group says Kodesh, Kodesh, and one group says Kodesh, 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 Hashem Tzvokes. Like the Gemara says in Chulin. Okay, what does that mean? One group says the word Kodesh once. The second group came from Vayim Beis Pam Kodesh. And the next group says Kodesh, Kodesh. And the third group says Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Malach. Like we say. So understand, what does that mean? Like one Kodesh, two Kodesh, three Kodesh, what does it mean? The Gam Tzarich Lahavin Man Mashakasav and Nazir by a pasuk, by a Nazir, by the Nazirite, the pasuk also says the word of Kodesh. Like it says, Kodesh Yia Gadol Per Salvation. That by a Nazir, the hair is a holy hair, so to speak. So what is this concept? Now, Rebbe is getting to the point. What is the concept of Kedusha? Now, number one, we say B'Seich B'nei Yisrael, then Kodesh and Kodesh, 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 Kodesh. What does all this mean? Hinei Ksiv, it says in the pasuk, Srafim Eimdim Mimala. The Srafim stand above him. Now, who's the him? Him simply means the Shechina. So he said, Yesh Lahavim Eich Yitokin Sheyamdu Mimala Shechina. How is it possible that Sraf and the Malachim that are called Sraf stand above the Shechina? Haleihem Nivroim Bali Gvul. They're limited creatures. How is it possible that these Srafim can stand above the Shechina? If it says in the pasuk, it says like this: it says, "With you is the source of light, source of life." So he says, why does the pasuk say imcha means like inferior to you, secondary to you is the source of life? It should say atam makar chayim. You are the source of life. Good question. Good.
That right?
Yovin calls that behegdim to understand what is the inyan of Kodesh. Again, all these Kodeshes, so to speak. What is the concept of Kodesh? Hine Kodesh pirush muvdal. The word Kodesh doesn't only mean holy. It means actually separated, removed. Like it says on the Havayla Shanisi. Hashem says the pasuk. Hashem says, I didn't change, meaning she'ein shum shinui etzli yizbarach. There's no change in Hashem. Ben kedem b'riyas elam la'achas shenivra. Seemingly, a person could think, okay, you know what? Before Hashem created the world, there was no world to deal with. Now there's a world, he has to deal with the world. Comes along the pasuk and says, no, ani Hashem lo shanisi. Whether it is a world, afterward, before, like we say in davening, atu kedem shenivra elam, you were there before the world. Atu la'achas shenivra, you're there after. And Chassidus says it doesn't mean you were there before and you're after. It means atu kedem, the same way you were, atu. The same way you existed before the world. That means the only thing that existed was you. Atu acha shenivra mishenivra elam. You are the same exact way. Now that there is a world, there's still nothing but Hashem. Eined Malvadi. V'ratzaleva, which means ein shum shinui v'espailis chas v'sholom etzli yizbarach. There's no change of it being effective. By mibriyat elam, like it says, ani rishem ani achu. Now how could that be? So he says, Hainu lefisha yizbarach muvdal mikol ha'elam, is because Hashem is completely removed from worlds. He has nothing to do with worlds. If you have nothing to do with worlds, it can't affect you. Something can affect you if you're connected to it. You have a connection to it. Then it can affect you. If you have nothing to do with anything, there's no way it can affect you. So therefore, what does the word concept of Kodesh mean? Hashem is removed from the world. But, Daragav, we know that you have the word Kodesh in a negative way. A prostitute is called Kadesha, which is the same letters as Kedusha. So what does it mean? Because again, the word Kaddish means being separated from the norm. So Kedusha, by definition, or what we normally call Kedusha means, it's above regular, it's above nature. But you can have something immoral, something below nature. That's also Kaddish, because the word Kaddish means removed. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, why is Hashem not affected by world? Ani Hashem L'Shanisi. He said, because Hashem really has nothing to do with the world. And therefore, world can't affect it.
We don't have this belief. We don't believe that he's removed.
1 second. Guys, we didn't learn anything yet. Hold on. He says, "V'hainu lefi shemoved o mikol elements. Hainu sheyesim mechayim ava elements." That even though Hashem creates the worlds and makes the world exist, ein k'meisha nefesh mechayis haguf. It's not like the soul, the neshama, the nefesh. You're not even talking about the nefesh l'kis. The soul that gives life to the body. Shemahus ha-nefesh mamish. Mislabeshet b'teich haguf l'chayus. When the neshama comes into the body, nefesh habamis, it gives life to the body. The neshama is dressing itself into the body, and therefore it's affected by the body. Hainitfases mamish b'teich haguf. It's mamish effective in the body. The chayis that, generally speaking, there's head, body, feet. Right? So the chayis that comes from the nefesh to give life to the body, by the way, the nefesh doesn't create the body. The body is there without the nefesh. And the proof of it is, because if the nefesh creates the body, the second the nefesh goes out, the body should disintegrate, disappear. If it's what makes it exist, like we learned that if Hashem's power would leave the world for a second, it wouldn't exist. Like by Kriyas Yamsuf. So you can't say that the nefesh gives life, gives existence to the body. It gives life to the body. Nevertheless, Chassidus explained interestingly that after the nefesh leaves the body does start to decompose. In other words, even though the body has its own life, making it exist, the nefesh only gives it life. But the body has its own existence. Nevertheless, that existence of the body is a little bit dependent on the nefesh, and therefore it doesn't disintegrate right away. It doesn't disappear. It decomposes in the year, whatever it may be. So he says, it divides into 3 parts. Merchen sheberas achai shebegova achai sheberaglayim. Shachayis amlu bishbarosh. The chayis that's in the head, that's narle yosef harbi mechayis aguf, is much higher than the life that's in the body. Kenira b'chush, that the head is all the pnimius achayis, all the deeper faculties are really in the head. The hainu koyach machshava v'aseichel, thoughts, intellect, chushim ulim, seeing, listening, and so on. V'achayis shebeguf u'lemata b'chinazu. And the chayis of the body, the middle part of the body, is less. Over there you have the emotions in the heart, which is lower than seichel. You also have the action power of the hand is also from the lower than seeing and listening and so on. Then the chayis shebeguf. Because what can the foot do? There's no midas in the foot. You can't write with, writing in the body is still much higher, much more refined abilities than the foot has. The calls are, why is it like that? He said, because the neshama, the nefesh, when it comes into the body to give it existence, what the Rabbi says this in Tanya, that the chayis comes first into the head, because that's the most refined capability, and then it goes to the rest of the body. In fact, Chassidus explained an interesting point. We say, K'adamu ha-nefesh. The blood is the soul. So it says, why is the blood the soul? Even though Hashem can make Ruchnius come into Gashmius, because normally fire and water are opposite, they can never coexist. Ruchnius and Gashmi are more opposite than fire and water, because fire and water are both Gashmi, except they're opposite Gashmis. But Ruchnius and Gashmius is infinitely more different than, if fire and water can't coexist, how can Ruchnius and Gashmius coexist? So we learned many times, because Hashem is higher than both, so therefore Hashem could combine Ruchnius and Gashmius. Nevertheless, where it's self-understood that the chayus of the nefesh comes into the most spiritual part of the physical body. Granted, it's physical, but there's still higher and lower, more refined in the body and less refined. So where is the neshama rest? In the blood, because the blood is the most refined part of the body. Its life, its warmth, it goes all over the body. It's the most refined part of the body. Therefore, the nefesh, where does it rest itself? In the blood of the person. So he says, why is it there's a difference between the head, which are the higher faculties, and the body, which is in the middle, and then the feet? Because they are higher kalim, more refined kalim and vessels for the power of the neshama. So the neshama is giving life to the body. So it's self-understood. In a more refined part of the body comes the higher faculties of the neshama. And the less refined comes less. And the less refined feet comes even less. But that's because the nefesh is directly connected to the body. The nefesh is coming in to see and hear and talk and smell, and then also to feel and to write and all those things. So therefore the nefesh is coming directly into the body.
Only nefesh, because there are other part of it. Nefesh.
Yeah, but we're talking about the gashmistic nefesh that gives life to the body.
We're talking about the whole.
It's not talking about the neshama with the different levels.
But you said that night some dreams the nefesh leaves.
The nefesh doesn't leave. The nefesh leaves, you die. It goes. If the nefesh would leave completely, we would be dead. It's a 60th of death. And that's why, by the way, we say, Meidan Yeshach to be Nishmasi. Where you wake up in the morning, it's basically Tchias HaMesim. Not total Tchias HaMesim, because we're not completely dead.
It comes and goes.
What comes and goes?
The nefesh.
No, the nefesh sticks around at night also. Just because part of it goes upstairs, so to get refreshed.
1/60th goes up.
Not eating blood is a chok.
What?
Not eating blood is a chok.
Yeah. Not eating treif is also a chok.
59 part stays.
Besides the fact that it's disgusting, but if it's the nefesh,
Rashi in Chumash says about Chukei, Rashi says the kashrus that Umaselim laugh. It's nothing to do with health. That's what some people want to say, like even people, other sects of Judaism that don't keep it yet. So they say, well, kashrus then in the desert was because it was unhealthy. Nowadays you have FDA and you have it, it's healthy, there's no reason for kashrus. That's if kashrus had a reason, then the reason doesn't apply, the law doesn't apply. But here, Torah doesn't say don't eat chazer because it's unhealthy. No.
but it's nefesh.
So?
If we are what we eat,
No. So, the nefesh, the eating, which keeps the nefesh in the body, right? Why do we need to eat? Otherwise, like we learned, why are the korbanos called korbani lachmi, Hashem's lechem? How do korbanos have to do with bread for Hashem? It means, again, in the mashal, just like food keeps the neshama in the body, if you don't eat for an extended period of time, God forbid you die. So what keeps Hashem in the world, what makes Hashem want to be in the world? The level of korbanos and Torah mitzvahs and things like that. That's the bread, so to speak, that keeps Hashem in the world. So what's the... Okay, so he says like this. Because therefore it's lower than the chayis of the nefesh, of the head. And the same thing, the body is higher than the feet. Therefore, this life of the nefesh that becomes, in other words, again, let's go off because he's going to talk about this later anyway. There is two lives that the nefesh gives to the body. Okay? There's one level of the nefesh comes into the body, the person is alive, period. In that aspect, there's no difference between the head, the body, and the feet. The head is not more alive than the body, or the foot is not any less alive than the other parts. Okay? The body, the nefesh comes into the body is alive. That's what's called in, even in Chakira and in Chassidus, Chayis Kloli. The general life, the neshama comes into the body, it's alive, that's it. But in that level, there's no difference between head and body and foot. Because that level of life, taka doesn't permeate the body, that if it's a more refined keli gets more, and if it's a different level keli gets less. Because it's not a level that goes into the body. It comes into the body in a superficial way. And in that level, the highest and the lowest, the head and the foot, are both equally alive. Then you have what Alter Rebbe is talking about over here, is another chayis that comes into the body to function in the body. That means the brain thinks, and the eye see, and the nose smells, and the mouth talks, and the ear hears. Those function is the way the nefesh actually dresses itself, so to speak, to use physical language, dresses itself in the body, and then therefore it's affected by those powers of the nefesh.
Everybody gets the same quality?
No. Some people are stronger than others. Some people are bigger, smaller, fatter, skinnier, whatever. But relatively speaking, it's all the same. It's that the person is alive. Is a strong person more alive than a weak person? I'm not talking about a sick person. By the way, it's interesting. Chassidus explains, so what happens when you get older? So because the body starts like... No, why is that? Because the body starts drying up. There's a Rabbeinu Bachaya, or Bachi, whichever way you pronounce it, the beginning of Chumash, in Mamish, in the first page of Rabbeinu Bachaya, he says, Hatinik miyat shenoiled maschalis yabesh. The baby, the second is born, begins to dry up. What does that mean? A person's born, the second they're born with 100, the highest to live 120 years. When they're a day old, they only have 119, 364 days left. So, in other words, so what happens? When a person gets older, why are they, generally speaking, weaker? Because the vitality of the body is less because of age, and therefore the keli for the power of the neshama is less. Not that the neshama gets old, neshamas don't age. Even if Shabbamas doesn't age, the body ages, and therefore it's less of a vessel for the power of the neshama. What?
Could it be that as we get older, the energy that sometimes you see in young kids, they have all this incredible energy running around all day long, that energy gets translated to our neshama in the physical body?
I don't think it gets translated. It just does that. The Gemara says, Ziknei Amoretz, the older they get, the more senile they get. Ziknei Talmidei Chachamim, Kol man shemaskinim, Daitam Yisrael Sheves Aleim. They forget the immaturity because they use the brain in a certain way. It's one of the few things. The more you use it, the better it gets. Most things, the more you use it, you ruin it. The brain, the more you use it, the better it gets. They tell there are many great tzaddikim, the great Talmidei Chachamim, that they say were born with the below average head. They weren't, but they worked, and they actually refined their brain to get to a level of a deep understanding. But that took work. So I don't know if they get weaker in the physical sense. The brain becomes bigger, so to speak. I know, it's even size of you say it goes bigger.
Prati gets weaker.
What?
Prati gets weaker.
Yeah. So there's the klali. That's what I'm saying. Why is an older person generally weaker than a young person?
It's the body of the body.
Right, so I'm saying it's not that the nefesh changes. Because the body loses its vitality or moisture, whatever you want to call it, lachluchis. So then, they're not such a keli anymore for the nefesh. Remember we learned many times, there's a scientific question, a medical question, but according to Torah it's a different answer. Why do blind people have the ability to give birth to people that could see? Or hear or whatever, right? You can have two parents that are blind, they'll give birth. So medically, the genes skip a generation, whatever it is. According to Torah, it's a different answer. The neshama is not blind. The neshama has a power of sight. Even a blind person in Gemara is called Sagi Nohar. Sagi Nohar actually means an abundance of light. Sagi is a lot, Nohar is light in Aramaic. The blind person, so simply means, okay, you want to speak positive, you don't want to speak negative, blind. You call him Sagi Nohar. Chassidus explains, no. Why is the person blind? Not, God forbid, the power of sight of the neshama is missing. The power of sight is 100% there. Why is the person blind? Either the eye, the keli, is dysfunctional, or in the wiring, so to speak, it's not physical wiring, in the wiring between the neshama and the power of sight coming into the body, there's something wrong. But the power of sight is there. The power of hearing is there. Therefore, if they give birth to a child that doesn't lack that vessel, there's nothing wrong with the connection, nothing wrong with the eye, the kid could see. I mean, the question is, how can a parent who doesn't see give a child something they don't have? So it's the science, they skip the generation. But according to Torah, it's not that they don't have it. They have it. This, that the person is blind, is because there's too much light for the keli of the eye in its present state to be able to handle. So you can't see.
The hardware has a problem.
The hardware is a problem.
Software is functioning.
Correct.
So you change the hardware, they could see.
Correct.
Simple.
Yeah, but you don't have to go on to skipping a generation with the genes. The person has sight. And therefore, the only problem is, when a person gets older, why do we get weaker? Because the body is less whatever it is, has less vitality, and therefore the nefesh can't function in the body. Not, God forbid, the nefesh age. The nefesh doesn't age. The body ages, and therefore it's not a keli anymore for that power of the nefesh.
Is it possible that nefesh reveal itself more and the body cannot take it? The body is not ready to take it. That's a possibility too.
What do you mean the body's not ready to take it? The nefesh doesn't change. The body gets less because it's less keli.
Isn't the person on the 13 receive another nefesh?
Doesn't mean receive another nefesh. The neshama, this is the neshama already, not the nefesh. Nefesh abamis, that exists the whole time.
On the 13.
That's why the Gemara calls him Melech Zakin Uchsil, the old foolish king. The Gemara calls him Melech Zakin Uchsil. Why? Because it's older than the neshama. The neshama comes in at bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah. And the nefesh abam, but even the neshama, it says, even the shchonah, the Alter Rebbe brings down, comes into stages. When the conception, the neshama starts coming in. At birth more. Bris or naming, many boy or girl. The gemar kanisis on neshama baguf, the ultimate, complete neshama, revealing neshama, nefesh shlikis, in the body is a bar bas mitzvah.
Okay, somebody who
That's
works
because
on
it revealed itself.
Yeah.
Not another neshama.
No, just
So that's
revealed.
my point was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
revelation.
What?
Somebody who's working on his devotion, speech, thought, and action, outside of the Sabbath. So, his neshama is not going to change. He's constantly working on the devotion.
Correct.
Nothing is going to happen to him.
When you say more godliness in Atzilus, less in Bria, less in Yetzirah, right? Okay. What does that mean? God changes?
No.
So what changes between Atzilus and Bria?
Revealing.
What causes it more revealed? The vessel is more refined. You open up the curtain more, you're going to get more light. You open the curtain less, you're going to get less light.
That's changed.
The sun doesn't change. No.
No, in the nefesh.
Does the sun, in the receiver,
Yes.
but any violation easy. The sun just doesn't change if your curtains are open or closed.
Of course, we're talking about the
Why? Because the sun itself is totally unaffected by world. It is what it is. Whether there is a world or no world, the sun is the sun.
No, I'm talking about the world.
Yeah?
I'm not talking. The sun doesn't change. Does the nefesh change when someone walks out in the bushim?
It just more revealed or less revealed. You're allowing more of the nefesh to be revealed or less of the nefesh to be
Do
revealed.
I have the same nefesh as you?
The Yechidah Shebenefesh, yes.
Really?
Yechidah?
The same? Everybody has the same?
99% of the time it says that. Sometimes it says, whatever. I don't know. Yechidah is Yechidah. Is there different levels in Yechidah? Probably, generally speaking, the answer is no, but probably there is. What?
Is the Yechidah the reason why we are able to subconsciously connect with everybody, every single?
That's where Mesiras Nefesh comes from. That's where Tshuva comes from. That's out of the clear blue. You get awakened. What happened? Yechidah woke up.
Fundamentally, you taught us when something is revealed, it loses. It's not the essence anymore.
Correct.
So, when somebody is working on his delusion, the nefesh is more revealed.
Not Yechidah. Well, I can't say that. By a Rabbi, Yechidah is always revealed.
But not tzaddikim. So
No, we learned in the past. Why does the Chassidim say people who go into the Rebbe for a private audience, it would be called Yechidus? So in Hebrew, Yechidus means private audience. But Chassidus explains, Yechidus is the plural of Yechidah. If you go into a Yechidus, proper like the Chassidim of yesteryear, 10 years, 15 years preparation, and so by a Rebbe, his Yechidah is always revealed. If you go in properly, then the Rebbe reveals your Yechidah, so it becomes Yechidus. If you go in Hayam here, that's not Yechidus, that's Hayam here. It's not, there's a Peilah Shavart, it says in Mishpatim, about an Evet, in Begapa Yaveh, Begapa Yetzeh. If he comes in alone, he goes out alone. It means the master can't give him a wife, a shiksa. In Bal Yishahu, V'yata Ishta Yimei. If he's so Peilah Shavart is going into a Rebbe. Begapa Yaveh, you come to the Rebbe with your body. Hi, I'm here. Begapa Yetzeh. You're going to go out with your goof. In Bal Ishahu, if you have a fire, Eish. If you have a fire, then the Yotza Ishtoi Imo, you're going to take the Rebbe's fire out with you. It depends how you go in.
the Yechidah is constantly shining.
Yeah.
Even if it's there. No
It's
matter-
there shining, no change whatsoever. The question is it revealed in us or not?